Alabama will try to make it sweet home Chicago as the Tide heads up to the Windy City to take on the Fighting Illini this Wednesday. I'm Charles Branch. This is Crimson Crossover Cross Court, and I'm pleased to have Mike LaTulip, former Illinois guard and current basketball analyst for the Field of 68. Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. We should have a heck of a game here this Wednesday.
Yeah, it should be a great game. It's Alabama's second Big Ten opponent in a row after losing, unfortunately, to Purdue last week. But before getting into the game, as I mentioned, you played for Illinois back in the day, and I wanted to start right there. What was it like playing Illinois, being an Illinois kid, being able to represent the Fighting Illini across the country?
Yeah, it was awesome. It's interesting. We moved a lot growing up, and so I when I chose Illinois, I had a number of mid-major offers. I chose Illinois as a preferred walk-on because I wanted to test myself at the highest level. And when I really fell in love with Illinois, was that '05 team with D Brown and Darren Williams and Luther Head and the run they made to the title game. We had just kind of just moved to Illinois at that point. So I think I was 12 at the time, so pretty impressionable. And but like I said, going through the recruiting process, Illinois had called. They didn't have a scholarship, but wanted me to come down on an unofficial visit, and I went there, and I just had a ton of friends going there from high school. It felt like home. It wasn't far from home, and so that's what ended up leading to that decision. But I love my time there and still go back frequently doing some radio stuff with Illinois. I know that staff really well. And yeah, it's amazing how things have changed. Not only just at Illinois, but in college basketball as a whole. It's a whole different world now.
We're a week out from Feast Week, and your first year at Illinois, you went out to Maui and not only got to participate, but won the Maui Invitational. So I want to hear about that because I love these early tournaments, and I know there's a little bit going on as far as the Players Era, which Alabama will be in, which is a new tournament, but these things like Maui and Battle for Atlantis. I love that basketball. I hope it doesn't go away, but I want to hear about your time in Maui because it sounded like it would have been a lot of fun after a successful trip.
Oh, it was incredible. And at that point, we had John Gross was in his first year as head coach, and we felt like we had a good team. We had an old team, and so that helps when you go on the road and go on trips like that. But the funny thing about winning Maui was on the way out to Maui, we played against the University of Hawaii at in Honolulu. And if people don't know the Stan Sheriff Center, that place fills up. And it took us all by surprise. So we end up looking up at the score and I believe we were down three with 10 seconds left against Hawaii on the way out to Maui. So think about even just right before that, we hit a three to send it into overtime. We win in overtime, and then we head to Maui. And it's interesting. We play USC in a game that was the last game of the night. So for people that were watching in Illinois, it was the 11 p.m. tip or whatever it was. We beat USC by 30, and then we're thinking we're going to play Texas in the next round, and then Chaminade knocks off Texas. And Chaminade, as people know, they're just the team that they're a host team. They get thrown into the tournament. Chaminade knocks off Texas, so we play Chaminade in the second round. We beat them by 25, and this is pretty. North Carolina is still rolling at this point, and they're playing Butler. It was Brad Stevens' final year at Butler, and so we're kind of thinking, okay, we're going to play North Carolina most likely. Butler beats them, and so we play Butler in the title game, and end up beating Butler by like 20. I mean, it was really like a wire to wire Maui title, and Brandon Paul, who was our go-to guy, was the MVP of the tournament. But that whole tournament, just from you get there and they have a players dinner. So every team that's in it, you all go to this dinner. It's outside, it's on the beach. They have different competitions that they hold on stage, and it's us versus a USC guy, and there's a Madden tournament, or I think it was a college football NCAA because EA Sports hosted it. They sponsored the tournament, so everything was EA Sports. We got like an EA Sports duffel bag of stuff, so it was truly one of my most fond memories of my college career. I was spoiled as a freshman. We won the Maui. We went into Gonzaga and got a win when I think only 6 or 7 teams had done that to that point. We knocked off the number one team in the country on a buzzer beater. for someone who's the only freshman on the team, I'm 19 years old, like, oh, this college basketball thing is unbelievable. And then you realize not every year is like that. But it was a great year for sure.
Are you concerned in this NIL era that tournaments like Maui and Battle for Atlantis will go the way of the Great Alaskan Shootout and we won't have these great traditional events, or do you think they'll figure it out and get some NIL as part of it as well?
I think they have to. I think you're seeing that right now with the players era. There's every team. Just look at the Maui field right now. That is not the Maui field that we're used to. And if you notice, a lot of those teams are kind of west of the Mississippi because whether it's UConn last year, teams don't like as much as the tournament is amazing, the travel, and then when you do come back, depending on where it sits with Thanksgiving, guys don't go home or you let them go home and then they come back. I think Coach K said it back in 2011. I think Duke played in it in 2011 and I think they won the Maui and then they flew home and Coach K was like, "Hey, you got a day or two off to go spend with your family." And then they come back and play Ohio State at Ohio State and lose by like 20, 25. So I think that's always on coaches' minds, but now you got the chance to really incentivize these programs and I think the players era is going to force a lot of these tournaments to buck up and either include some sort of cash prize or just make it more appealing for these teams to play in it, which sucks because it's how much do we always look forward to Maui around Thanksgiving? So I hope they can turn that corner because it's a heck of an event, and the people that do travel for it and the people that have been in that arena, it is like saying it's a high school arena doesn't do it justice. That is like back auxiliary gym that just gets filled to the brim. It's one of the loudest arenas that I've ever played in, and I hope that tradition continues. I really do.
Well, before moving on to your time at Illinois, I did want our Alabama fans to know that you were 2-0 against Auburn while you were at Illinois as well.
Yeah, I mean it was the final 2 years of Tony Barbie. Those teams were nowhere near as talented as these Auburn teams are now, and I would love to see a present day matchup between Illinois and Auburn. Now, it's we played them in the United Center, and then we went down and played them. I believe at the time it was Phillips Arena where the Hawks play, which was cool. Like Charles Barkley was sitting courtside during warmups. That was awesome. And then we won big in that second game that we played against them. But uh, definitely a different Auburn program at this point, it
Well,
seems.
I imagine it's coming because Auburn has liked to copy how Nate Oates schedules. So it'll probably be here very, very soon within the next year or two where we get Auburn in Illinois.
That'd be great. That'd be great. I'd love to see it.
Well, Alabama's not the only program that has a big resume win early, beating St. John's, but Illinois got a huge win against Texas Tech last week. What does this Illini team look like through 4 games? And talking about that win at home against the Texas Tech Red Raiders.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with the way that Illinois has navigated the months leading into the season and in these first few weeks. The full cast of guys that they have has not been on the floor once together. And you could say, hey, is that just games? That's practice. I mean, that Stojakovic was out for 2 months with a knee injury. Thomas Slavovicic got his tonsils out, then had a knee injury of his own. Petrovic, one of their point guards they brought from overseas, has had injuries and was a late arrival to campus. So despite having to deal with all of that, they play a brand of basketball that would lead you to believe that that's just not the case. And it's a really connected group. They can shapeshift given their opponent because of their personnel and I think their IQ and what they can throw at you on both ends. And I think I've personally recalculated the ceiling for this team a bit because of how ahead of schedule some of the freshmen are with David Mirkovic and Keaton Wagler. They've changed a lot from that perspective. And in that Texas Tech game, I felt pretty comfortable that they could win that game. I just like they had the size advantage for sure. But when you get into games, and we'll get into the Alabama matchup, but when you get into games with Illinois, and we saw this 2 years ago with the team that went to the Elite Eight, when you let them play a matchup hunting type game, that's where they flourish, especially with this cast of guys. And that's exactly what happened at Texas Tech game. They were willing to say, JT Toppin, go crazy. We'll let you beat us if you want to try to beat us on your own. You damn near almost did it in the second half. They started 11 for 11 from the field in the second half. But they were able to put Kylin Boswell, who's a 6'2", 200-pound guard on Toppin. and he's one of the better. We saw what he did to Mark Sears last year in that Alabama game. He's one of the best defenders in the country. You can move him around, and that ultimately ended up being the story. In addition to getting Andrei Stojakovic back into the mix, and he was guarding Christian Anderson up top and create a lot of issues with his length. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him on LeBaron Philon at some point as well. It's just they have a lot of different levers they can pull, and I think it's why I'm high on them um, to certainly make a run at the Big Ten, but also position themselves well for a run in March as well.
Yeah, you rattled off some of the guys from overseas. I mean, when I looked at the roster, I was wondering if y'all were going to rename them the Illinois Fighting Internationals for this season with so many guys that Brad Underwood has been able to pull in. How has he been able to go find this talent throughout the country and then pull it all together, even with, as you mentioned, all the injuries that are going on?
Yeah, Underwood recruiting internationally. This has been going on for a while now. I think just in college basketball in general, Gonzaga and Arizona were probably the poster child, children of and the model of success when it comes to recruiting internationally. Just all the people that they brought in over the years. I mean, Roni Turioff going way back for Gonzaga, but then you get Sabonis, Karnowski, all those guys they brought in. Even Kevin Pangos, who was over in Canada. But this has been a 4 to 5 year build for Illinois, and they've made inroads over there. This certainly isn't their first these aren't their first international players that they've gotten. Obviously, last year they had Yakashonis, they brought the Tommy Avicic over, but part of it I think was as the American NIL market got so out of control, you got to pivot and you got to be nimble and cast a wider net. You saw role players this spring, genuine role players that could be sixth men on good teams that were asking for 1.2 to 1.5 million dollars. And when you compare that to a guy that is 18, 19 years old that has more runway, that is playing professionally overseas and is a quarter of that price or half that price, then you got to start being a little bit more efficient with your spend. And I think that's exactly what they did. So, and I think the bang for your buck goes a longer way too. So I think it's been really cool to see that all come together. I was at practice, and that bond that those guys have that come from and have roots from the same area, that's a real thing. I mean, they truly look out for each other. And I think you look at Zavonimir Ivicic coming over from Arkansas to play with his brother and how they're going to split time at the five. And man, how are we going to make that work? Okay, we got to put Tommy in. That means Zavonimir's minutes are going to go down. Helps when they're brothers because they want to see each other succeed. And all that I think bakes into why this team has a really high floor. They're talented for sure. They've gotten international players for sure, but it's a really connected group.
Alabama played Illinois in Birmingham last year, and those games are always big because that's where a majority of the fan base is and makes it easier for them to get to Birmingham and watch those games. This game's in Chicago. How are these Chicago games important for Illinois when it's going to be classified as a neutral site, but we know this is an Illinois home game?
It's very important. And I played in probably in my time there, we probably had not counting the Big Ten tournament, we probably had 4 to 5 regular season games there. And look, just like you mentioned, I mean, Illinois is one of the biggest has one of the biggest alumni bases in the United States, and that biggest hub is in Chicago. So you see in these games, and you'll certainly see it given the success of the Alabama program and the success of this Illinois program right now. I mean, it was the case when I was there, so I can imagine it's going to be the case on Wednesday night. But they sell out that arena, and that arena is the biggest arena in the NBA, the United Center. So that if that goes to tell you the type of atmosphere that they're going to be playing in that game, certainly going to be a very pro Illini crowd and an electric atmosphere. But I just think it's really neat for these players too. And I think the Alabama players, as much as it's like a road environment, all that, I think they're going to enjoy it too. It's United Center's huge. If you've been in there, the bleachers on the baseline go out and then up. It's kind of cavernous in a way, but they fill it, and it gets loud in there. So I remember getting into the game against Auburn in the first half my freshman year, and it just still felt like, despite how big the arena is on the sidelines, everybody's just kind of on top of you. It was unsettling at 5'11", 155 pounds, like I was getting in there, but one of my fondest memories for sure as an Illini.
Before getting directly into the game, Alabama's guards have been talked about all season. They've been great, but Kylin Boswell is one of the best guards, I believe, in the country. And he's very experienced. I know he started at Arizona, now he's at Illinois. Talk a little about him and how and I know he'll have some teammates helping him out, but how does he kind of match up against the Alabama guards and what are you expecting from him?
Yeah, again, we saw what he did on Mark Sears last year. I think he held Sears scoreless in that game, and he's just a Swiss Army knife. And he's the benefit of having a guy like Kylin Boswell on your team is whether he is on ball or off ball or guarding the ball or not guarding the ball, he's always additive and he's always disrupting. And they've changed their defense a little bit this year to allow him to go hunt defensively a little bit more, which I think is lended itself to his skill set, especially on the defensive end. But he was a good outside shooter at Arizona that dipped significantly last year, and now he's right back up to being in the I think he's in the 40s shooting from 3-point land, which is just going to open up a ton for not only him. I mean, I think I want to say if my memory serves correct, Kylan in his 2 years at Arizona shot 58 free throws combined in his 2 years. He shot 149 last year, and he's taken 26 already in 4 games this year, or 3 games this year. So he's just kind of reworked his game, and he's the head of the snake for Illinois. Not only just from a player standpoint, they got a lot of good players, but from a heart standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, and he's been everything for this Brad Underwood program. He's a Brad Underwood type of guy, very very hard nosed, and I know Brad likes that.
So, talking about the game, how do you think it's going to play out? What are some things that you're looking for? And ultimately, how do you think the game will end?
It's a high level matchup. I think we both know that. But I'm looking particularly at the Alabama side. This is a really interesting. Kudos to Alabama the way they scheduled. I mean, there's no team in America that has a 4 game stretch like they have, going St. John's, Purdue, Illinois, Gonzaga. That's in a row, right?
That's in a row. And then
Yeah,
you got UNLV in Las Vegas right after Gonzaga in the players era. And then who knows that third game out there is going to be. So
exactly. UNLV just knocked off Memphis, so they're going to be no slouch either. So looking at these first 3 high major games for Alabama, St. John's was a team that didn't have a point guard. Purdue was a team that had the best point guard in America. And now you have an Illinois team that I think is going to look at the makeup of these of Alabama defensively and try the matchup hunting game. So you have Kylin Boswell who can be a point guard. You have really multiple handlers and creators on this Illinois team that can distribute, that can shoot it. So it's a different challenge than probably those first 2 games. So I really want to see how Alabama navigates that defensively, because I could see a world where, as much as Illinois talked about coming into the season and playing faster, in a game like this, looking to potentially do what Purdue did and grind those offensive possessions, find the mismatches. Whether it's the trio of Philon, Holloway, and Millette on the floor together, who can you seek out as the weakest link there? And because Illinois has a lot of size, a ton of size. And so I'm just fascinated to see how Nate Oates tinkers with those lineups, because my gut tells me that what we see right now is not what we're going to see in February, March, or maybe even on Wednesday from this Alabama group. Like that Philon, Holloway, Millette lineup, honestly, like it hasn't been great to this point. I mean, they're in the 20 minutes they've played together, they're minus 14, and they were negative in both the Purdue and the St. John's game. So probably need to see a bigger sample size of that. But the reality is, despite the shooting and Philon's playmaking, like that's a thin backcourt, and next to a thin 4-man if you're going to play Taylor Bull-Bowen. So ultimately, I look at Amari Allen. I just think he's got to find a way to, not he's got to find a way, they have to find a way to reinsert him probably into that starting lineup. I think you pretty much instantly become a tougher group to score on and a tougher group to keep off the glass simply with his presence because he makes the rest of that lineup fall more into place. Maybe it's him in for Millette, and then you have because Taylor Bowen can still step out, can shoot it. You still have the shooting mixed with a little bit more positional size. I just wonder if that's where they go because against this Illinois team, I probably want the max amount or how you can find the balance the most between size and mobility on the floor.
So I was going to joke that, maybe not first team in 100, but first team to 150 because Illinois is a team that's, averaging 98. They shoot a
Yeah.
lot of threes and they shoot it well from three as well. But you're thinking Illinois might slow it down and grind it out a little bit more on Wednesday night.
Yeah, I think if you playing fast, I think plays a little bit more into Alabama's hands. I think St. John's fell into that a little bit, where I thought St. John's could have grinded it down even more. I mean, they got to the line 40 times in that game, and so yeah, we've seen over the years, like I said, that Elite Eight team that Illinois had. It was one of the top offenses in the country, and it was just all about possession control. And every possession was finding the mismatch, and it lowers your turnover rate. It raises your shot quality because if you force doubles and you odds are you're getting a better shot out of that trap, and then you're better rebounding for it. And I think clearly, although Alabama got St. John's on the glass, that was I gotta think Nate Oates is doing whatever, name your drill, war rebounding, something after that Purdue game. So I wonder if there's changes there. But I do expect a good portion of this game for Illinois to be they're gonna push on in some instances. That's how you get some of your mismatches sometimes. But if it's secondary transition or they have a dead ball, I would expect them to grind it down to try to find those advantageous mismatches.
Well, I know you mentioned your expectations for Illinois have grown after the Texas Tech win, and I imagine they will grow even further if they're able to get a win Wednesday night. When you look at the rest of the season for Illinois, obviously the Big Ten is very tough, and it has become a coast-to-coast conference as well with adding some of those former Pac-12 schools. What are your expectations for Illinois in the Big Ten, and then looking past the Big Ten into March Madness this year?
Yeah, to win the Big Ten, you have to defend and you have to rebound. I mean, that's probably true for every conference, but especially true in the Big Ten. And I like the way Illinois is positioned in that category. Um, and it all depends. I mean, we'll see. I think they're a team that I think, unlike Purdue in a sense, and getting TKR back was massive. I mean, you guys saw that last Thursday, just what he does, putting the rest of their personnel slotting everybody in their natural positions and then helping them on the glass. Uh, Illinois can be a team that can overwhelm you athletically and just with their size. That always raises your floor in league play. I think that raises your floor in March as well. And this is a more experienced group than that team was last year. So those are things that I think factor in addition to the IQ and the skill, and then what we get, how much Keaton Wagler and David Mirkovic continue to ascend. I mean, these are two freshmen right now that through 3 games, the two leading freshman scorers in the Big Ten are David Mirkovic and Keaton Wagler at 18 a game and 17 a game. And obviously Mirkovic with the 27 and 21. Last game, he doesn't jump more than 4 inches off the ground, but he plays a leverage game and he's smart and he's savvy. So I'm really high on this group, and I think it's a really awesome test for Alabama too. I think this is a win where if you get it and you're the Crimson Tide, this is one that's going to age pretty darn well as the season goes on.
Well, we're just in the season. As I mentioned, we got Feast Week next week. So for Alabama fans, college basketball fans that want to watch you and hear more of your analysis, where can we be finding you this season?
Yeah, Field of 68, Illini Inquirer, but Field of 68 specifically for more of the national stuff that I do. We'll be on live as soon as that game ends on Wednesday. I forget who the cast is with me, but it should be a good cast. We'll recap the game, talk about the game, and then talk about the broader college basketball landscape, the other games that take place that night. That's where you can find me.
Awesome. Mike, really appreciate your time. And like you just mentioned, everybody can find him on the field of 68, which we're happy to be partnered with at Crimson
Yep.
Crossover. But again, Mike, I won't wish you good luck on Wednesday for the Illini. I wish you good luck the rest of the season, but I really appreciate your time giving our Alabama fans more insight to Illinois for this upcoming game.
Hey, likewise, man. No matter what, it should be a high level game. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, Mike.
Take care.